Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. What the hell was that? So today we're going to take a look at my relationship with cold steel. I don't have a ton of cold steel knives, but the ones I do, I absolutely love. I have not had a swing and a miss from them yet. Um, and they make some incredible stuff. What they do is just kind of out there. It's unique to cold steel, and I'm here for it all the way. And the first thing that I bought for myself years and years and years ago was the Cold Steel Bowie Machete. And these things were definitely at the right price point. It's an absolutely comically huge Bowie knife, and it does serve trial as a machete. And, I've got a story with this one and some history with it. This cut right here. I know some of y'all have seen the video where I told the story about it, but there's also a lot less subscribers then. So if you're watching this and you do want me to tell the story again, let me know in the comments because I will. However, it's going to take up a lot of time here that I don't necessarily think is going to fit the vibe of the video. So this thing did do good when it was handled properly. And, I really like this thing. I love a good machete. You can take them out. You can absolutely beat on them with no mercy, zero mechanical sympathy. And if it's a decent machete, even for like $10, it will laugh it off with no problems whatsoever, and you can keep going. And you can sharpen them with literally anything you own. Angle grinder, bench grinder, a rock. These things don't care. And I have used a bench grinder to put an edge on these things, and just fine. Really, really crude rough edge, but it more than did the job. I've made a few machetes myself with just some scrap steel that was probably mild that still did the job. Like, I love these things. And I have two other cold steel machetes. I got the Kopis and I got the Cavalry Saber. And the Cavalry Saber is one of the greatest things ever invented. You got the full D guard. It looks like a Cavalry Saber, just a machete form. And the saber is one of my favorite sword styles. I love a good saber, and the cavalry sabers, when they're made more ornamental, are absolutely gorgeous. The straight pure function ones just look like they're here to do business. So I wanted to play with the cavalry saber in the woods and did not get a chance to because this thing did this before I could get started. Same thing with the Kopis. So they've never been used before, and I'm not going to be in the woods anytime soon, so they're just collection pieces for now. But that's the machete portion of it, and I wish I could show those two on camera, but they are absolutely huge, and there's no way to do that with my setup here. The first Cold Steel that I owned, however, was this Cold Steel Twistmaster. And I've shown this before, but it belonged to my uncle before he passed away, and it was in the box of stuff I got. I didn't know it was cold steel, I didn't know it was old, and I didn't know it was kind of rare until someone showed one in one of the more bougie Facebook groups I'm in, and I saw that, and he said it was a Cold Steel Twistmaster, so I had to go do my research. And it turns out this was made sometime in the 90s, probably the mid-90s, and this thing, it's not that common now because they discontinued them a long time ago. However, if you haven't seen this before, it's a lot like an Opinel. You got your nail nick here, you crack it open, and you twist this thing right here to lock it in place. It's what an Opinel wants to grow up to be. And it's one of those things I played with when I first saw it because his stuff also had a couple of Opinels in it, and I didn't know what those were until I saw them. I'm like, those are some cool little knives. And those Opinels, let me tell you right now, if you sharpen them right, they are absolute lasers. They are just ridiculously sharp. I love those things. But so this one sat in the collection for a long time now, and I don't carry it because I don't really want to lose it or have anything bad happen to it. You can tell, like, he gave this thing quite a few hot suppers. Like, it has been put to work and then some. And like a cold steel, it didn't care. There's also, dirt embedded here. It's a little grungy here. And I would go to the trouble of cleaning it up and making it look nice and as new as it can again, but I kind of want to have it how he left it. It's not like I'm going to carry it because I don't want to lose it, but, still, I kind of like this one how he left it. I've fixed other knives that he had, but this one, I don't know, something tells me just to leave it. So I leaves it. The first modern Cold Steel that I got my hands on was this Luzon that I won from Dick Ritchie back when he was still Ace on Knives, and it was a much younger channel. And he did a series of giveaways. It was like his first ever series of giveaways, and I won this and a couple other knives. And I had seen the Luzon before, and again, one of my nicer Facebook groups, and the guy had a picture of it, and he's holding it with one hand, and there's still half the handle sticking out. So when he said I want to Luzon, I freaked out. And this showed up, and don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic little knife, but it was not the size that I was expecting. It just, what I was expecting was double this size. And I don't know if I showed this, but the bead I put on it is shredded currency and resin. But let's flick the bean. You got like a nice 4-inch blade. The handle's around 4 inches, and it carries comfortably, and it works as a normal size knife. Fantastic. It's got that great Cold Steel factory edge. Everything functions on it really well. It's a good knife, hands down. The plastic pocket clip's a little bit weird for me. It wasn't a problem, but I kept feeling like I might break it just because I have bad luck with stuff like this. And part of that is, for years, I had no mechanical sympathy and didn't treat things like they were supposed to be treated. I found a way to do it where, it wasn't recommended, and eventually it failed. That's kind of part of the people I grew up around. Like, you always find ways to use things, and it's not how the manufacturer intended, but you're getting a new function out of it. When you figure stuff like that out, you feel kind of special. Some of your Appalachian American engineering, but that's part of why I don't have many knives from way back when. Stuff like that. But let's flick the bean again. So you've got the Luzon, and when I got this, I shared pictures in one of my Facebook groups, and I was like, I don't understand why his looks so much bigger than mine. And they explained it to me. There's a big Luzon out there. So within 3 days of getting this, I had this, the big Luzon. And its lanyard beads are these skulls here that they're thermochromic. They change colors when they get warm, and I think it changes to a really bright blue and a different purple. I could be wrong. It's been a long time. They change color slowly, so if you're outside on a hot day, you'll notice it, or if they're in the car and it gets warm in there, you will notice it. But to try to hold them and change colors like this, it takes a very long time. But, when I got this thing, and there is an unboxing video on this, I absolutely freaked out. There is a recording of my reaction when this came out of the box. And let's do a big bean flick. And if you don't throw some wrist into it, it's a slow bean flick. But, you got like a 6-inch blade right here, and the handle, of course, is 6 inches. And I can take this one and comfortably two-hand it, and there's still stuff hanging out on either end. Like, this is barely visible, but it's there. And it's comfortable holding it in two hands. And me being the kind of guy I am, I can jam this in my waistband and carry it at work and be fine. And I'm on my feet walking 5-7 miles a day, and walking in a hurry so I get left alone. So the fact that they made this as comfortable as it is to keep in a waistband, and I'm assuming a pocket, blows my mind. I cannot believe they dialed that in, but Cold Steel makes pocket swords that are comfortable to carry. I've had a lot of other large knives that are, they're designed to be large knives, but they're not designed to carry comfortably for long periods of time. Cold Steel somehow gets that right. Let's flick the bean again. So there are the two Luzons next to each other, and you can tell, like, this is an absolute monster. The next one I got myself, though, is the Cold Steel AD10. And I've been a fan of Dutch bushcraft knives for a long time, like since way back when. They did a $1 knife versus I think $400 knife back when that was still a young channel. And I've followed them since then. But they did their Cold Steel AD10 review and put it through some pretty hefty destructive testing. And the thing that blew me away is they batoned it through a brick. And there were very, very minor edge damage issues. But let's flick the bean. This one is harder to flick, but yeah, see. This one is hard to flick. I haven't quite learned how to pop this one out without feeling like I'm going to throw it out of my hand. But, this is more normal sized, but this is an absolute tank. It's a beefy boy, but they still kept the profile on the scales relatively thin. And it rides in the waistband very comfortably. The ergos are great. It's a little heavy, you notice that, but it's very, very comfortable. This is what I had on me at Blade Show 23 walking around all day and did not have any problems with it. And you can kind of see it's been carried with, it's been carried, fidgeted with, all that a lot. It's been used quite a few times at work. And this thing, I absolutely love this. This kind of meets all of my requirements for a good carry, with the exception of the weight. It's a little heavy, but you know, that's the price of admission. You know, this thing functions well. You can open it one-handed. I tried to close it this morning and it guillotined me because I tried one-handed. But, you know, it's strong. You don't have to worry about failures. Let's try to flick the bean again. Got it that time, gentlemen. Successful bean flicking. But, you know, it does everything I want it to, and I could kill a boat with it if I wanted to. Like, these things are fantastic. They're not the cheapest thing in the world, but they're nowhere near as expensive as other knives come in with the same blade steel, the S35VN, and the kind of durability and stuff like that. You know, a lot of other knives that meet these same criteria, you're going into a few $100s easily. So, you know, they're providing an ungodly amount of value. It's a little more expensive, but you're paying for more premium stuff. And, you know, again, you can baton this through a brick and it'll be okay. Like, you cannot argue with that. The last Cold Steel that I have, and you guys saw it and how excited I got about it, was the Cold Steel Frenzy. And let's flick the bean on this one. Also, this is really hard to do flat across the camera. Normally I'm kind of flicking it down this way. But this is another pocket sword. And this is like a 5.5-inch blade right here. And you got of course, the handle to match. But this is also one, you know, you can take it and two-hand it. And there's not much showing down here, but there is. And you got some handle showing up here. I've got extra large hands. That should tell you how big this thing is. And, you know, I got this. And so what happened was, going through getting stuff for the Temu Showdown, the wife ordered one that I didn't look at first. And it was a little folder, Wharncliffe, that said Frenzy on the blade. I didn't think anything of it. It was a cool little knife, but somebody pointed out in the comments that it was a clone of a Cold Steel Frenzy. So I says to myself, knives, I guess? You should probably go look that up. And I did. And, of course, the clone got sent back because it was an identified clone before we got past the point of no return. And, by the way, if I accidentally show a clone that I don't know about outside of the Temu Super Budget Showdown, that Temu thing is a problem, but outside of the Temu stuff that we're doing right now, if you see a clone show up that I don't know is a clone, please say something. I always appreciate it. I'm not defensive about it. I don't know everything out there, so if someone tells me it's a clone, I will do the research, and if they're right, it'll never get shown again, and I might just take the video down if it's like a full-on singular knife review. But all that aside, I have carried this a good few times. I think I carried it for a week straight right after I got it. And the weight on this thing is unreal. Like, it is so light for a pocket sword. It weighs about as much as the AD-10. It's a lot lighter than this, a bit lighter than this. It carries very, very well. And there you go. I got the whole thing in frame. And you can kind of see I'm holding it in both hands here. This thing is a good little monster. It carries so well, and I didn't really have any weight issues. It's also the weight's distributed across something this long, so you don't feel it nearly as much. It stayed very, very secure. It carried very comfortably, and of course you got this Cold Steel factory edge on this really long Wharncliffe. It's been a good knife, and this is about there with the, I think it's cheaper than the AD-10. I think the AD-10 is between 120 and 150 based on when you buy it. This was 107, and so it's a little bit cheaper, but you still have a huge slab of S35VN, which means, you know, if you're cutting paper, cardboard, everything else, it's going to hold up fantastically forever. You're going to pay for that come time to sharpen, but it's not the least sharpenable steel out there by a pretty wide margin. So, this is the Cold Steel family that I have that fits on camera. I just kind of wanted to share my experience with it, and, you know, this is why I love Cold Steel so much. You know, I love my weird openers. I love my weird knives. And these are weird in the way that Cold Steel has gone just way, way, way overboard on a lot of these and just took it to a ridiculous extreme. The Espada XL with the S35VN. I can't tell you how much I want that, but $300. And the Cold Steel Mayhem. I'm not saying I touched myself when I saw it, but I'm not saying I didn't. But again, like $350. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I did, but, you know, I ain't there right now. So, this is what I've acquired that I can afford and I've been able to save up for, especially like in the cases of these two, I had to save up for a while. But I think they're worthwhile, especially if you're a knife guy and you like crazy stuff like this. They're definitely worth it. And the big Luzon is $40. 40. $40 for a pocket sword with a 6-inch blade and Cold Steel's build quality. You can't argue with that at all. But either way, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, thank you as always. It's very humbling when people watch these and get some entertainment out of it. If you haven't subbed, please do. We are slowly working towards 1,000. The new guys that have shown up, thank you so much. And thank you for the comments. They make it more entertaining for me. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.